Hey everyone, it's Eric with Real Property Management. So I hope my dogs are going to behave long enough for me to be able to get this video done without them barking at the squirrel. But I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about what I'm seeing going on in the rental market. I know a lot of the folks on this group we started years ago are do-it-yourselfers, and so you don't have the 45,000 foot view of the rental market that we do. And I wanted to communicate some of the things that I was seeing. So good news is rents have stabilized. I know it sounds odd to say good news because I think as landlords we sort of always want rents to go up, but I think if you're realistic about what that means for the economy, you know that rents need to stabilize. We saw some pretty amazing jumps. I ran some numbers here. So in the late teens and 2020, we saw typically middle class housing was around $1.22 a square foot. It would bounce around in there. And then in 2021, or by the end of 2021, it had risen 11.5% in 1 year to $1.36. The following year, end of 2022, average rents had jumped to $1.55, which is an additional 14% increase in rents. Now, then it sort of stabilized at the beginning of 2023 because we saw it actually dip down slightly, down by 4% to $1.49 a square foot in 2023. I'm watching it close. I've only got January and February numbers done so far. We're starting to see it tick up, but I don't want to start talking about those numbers yet until we let a few more months go by and let's see what they're doing. But overall, we're not pushing big increases in rent. There's just not, I think, that much economic room to push things up any higher. So certainly good if you're a renter. Good overall for the economy. I think a little bit of stability is what everyone would like after the last 3.5, 4 years. So. If you are one of those people that jumped on one of those 2.5% interest rates, man, you are printing money right now. Hold on to that property. I don't care how much equity you think you have. Hold on to that sucker. We're talking to a lot of folks that have bought single-family homes with a 2.5% interest rate, and they just cannot fail to cash flow. Rents relative to the interest rate that they purchased at are very, very high. Now, if you're one of those folks that bought later in the game when prices had really risen and interest rates were starting to climb, now a lot of those folks were actually counseling, hey, don't think I can get you enough rent to cover your mortgage. If you want to turn around and sell, I certainly don't blame you. I'll let all the sales agents in the groups opine on that topic. But man, if you have a 2.5 or somewhere in that interest rate, like I said, you now own a money printer. Hold on to that. As far as rent prices, we're talking to a lot of folks that are newer to this game, to this landlorded game. Maybe they've got a single family home. Maybe they've combined households. They're taking, one of the homes and turning it into a rental. Awesome plan. Love it. Great way to save for college, that kind of thing. But I wanted a little reminder out here. I'm going to be harsh. That's why you love me. No one cares what your mortgage payment is. I'm sorry. If I was selling you my truck, you don't care what I bought it for. You don't care what my current payment is. You don't care how much I owe. Do I owe anything? Do I owe a lot? You don't care. You're going to go on to Kelley Blue Book. You're going to look what the average 2006 Ford sold for and go, sorry, dude, this is all this is worth, and that's what you're going to offer. And if I ask some insane amount because I overpaid for a truck, sorry. So I know that's kind of a harsh reality, but a lot of people need to be reminded that, the market really doesn't care what your mortgage rate is. The market is going to set its own price based on demand, based on scarcity, based on supply, all those fun things. And the fact that you absolutely need X for it really doesn't factor into it. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you're trying to price your rental property, I'd recommend going on to Craigslist and Zillow. I know a bunch of real estate agents watching this just threw open their mouth, but Zillow has at least halfway decent information. And the thing to keep in mind when you're looking at prices on Zillow is those are asking prices, okay? That Zestimate or rent estimate or whatever Zillow gives you, whatever they're calling it today, that is a guess based on asking prices. Zillow, Craigslist, and all that do not know what that person actually rented the property for ultimately. Were there pets involved? Another one I hear a lot is, well, the guy down the street rented his for this much, and mine's just like it. Cool. That's a factor. But another big factor in that is, well, what was the credit score of the renter? How qualified were they? What's their payment history look like? Those really factor in because it's very counterintuitive, but you cannot you cannot price yourself out of a bad tenant. People with good credit scores have good credit scores because they made good financial decisions. People with bad credit scores have bad credit scores because they made bad financial decisions. If you overprice your property, you will be surprised at how many applicants you get signing up for their next bad financial decision. You are the next bad financial decision. It's something I have to go over with each of my leasing agents when I'm trading a new one. It's very counterintuitive, but it is 100% true. Now, I always encourage you, look at the average of other similar properties, okay? Wag yours down slightly. Say, okay, that's probably the median price. You can always try for a little bit more and see if you get it. Look at how many phone calls you're getting. Are you getting showings? Are you getting applications? Because someone was willing to actually spend money on an application fee at that point. When people start putting their money where their mouth is, you know you've probably found the right price. Unless those applications are just garbage, frankly. That's going to segue into my next point, which is what we're seeing is a lot of folks that held on to their prior spending habits pre-COVID. And now it's post-COVID, inflation has hit, and they're still spending like it's pre-COVID. You can see that in their credit reports, in their credit card balances, in the things that they're no longer paying for. I cannot stress enough how important it is to run a credit check right now. In addition to that, you need to be especially careful of falsified pay stubs. I haven't seen a whole lot of it up here yet. We have fortunately turned on a service internally that we actually reach into the bank account. So if somebody says, I work at Sally's Sandwich Shop, great. I should see deposits from Sally's Sandwich Shop LLC in Sarah's bank account, right? So we actually third-party verify that. But if you are not working with big property manager software programs, what I would be doing is looking real carefully at those pay stubs and actually picking up the phone and calling the employer, not with the number that the tenant gave you, with the number you looked up on the internet and third-party verified, called that place and said, hey, I'm calling to see if so-and-so works there still. We have a lot of people that have, as the economy is contracting, we're having people losing their jobs and they're trying to kind of pull any trick they can to get into housing before the house of cards falls on them. CClass Apartments, those are getting a little bit harder to rent. That's I haven't quite put my finger onto it yet as to why. I'm not saying the sky is falling just yet. If you own, say, a fourplex or anything like that. And when I say harder to rent, I mean harder to rent to someone who actually pay rent and take care of the place. I can get anything rented tomorrow. It's whether you're going to be happy with me after I do. So don't feel bad about denying some applications if you're not seeing the credit score that you want to see. Remember, go look into fair housing laws. Make sure you're not violating any fair housing laws as far as denying people. But generally, a 3-to-1 income to rent ratio and a decent credit score, decent payment history, that's really a safe way to look at things. Remember, court view is not a background check. Court view is not a background check. It is part of a background check. It is a backup. to your background check. So I know a lot of people say, oh, I do background checks. I look at court view. There's a lot more to that discussion that we can talk at maybe a later date, but it is an element of your background check is checking the local court records. Okay. Big macro trend I'm seeing, if you're looking at buying something, I can tell you what is really in need right now, which is we have one of the wealthiest generations in the United States, in U.S. history, the boomers, who are selling their pinnacle home, the home they raised their kids in. They are very cash strong now, and they're buying smaller, easier to maintain homes, townhomes, etc. Well, the kids aren't home anymore. They need something a little bit more manageable. What that means is they are competing in the same market as a lot of new first-time home buyers. And that has really priced the young families out of the market. I'm not making any moral judgments here. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. I talk to a lot of young families that have every intent of buying a home but have decided not to because they basically feel priced out, or if they've attempted to buy a home, I talk to a lot of folks that were getting beat out by all cash offers and basically gave up and said, okay, I'm going to rent a place for a while and sort of let things settle out. So if you're looking to buy, if you can get reasonably priced middle-class housing, again, townhomes, middle-class duplexes, those detached fourplexes in the valley. I know you guys went through a lot of pain in 2015, 2016 when builders were giving you a line about how much it was going to rent for, and then it ended up renting for $1,100, $1,200, way below what they said. Good news is, man, you guys are going to be making bank now if you held on to those. Single family homes, the really big stuff, it's still renting. There's still families looking for that kind of thing, especially military families in Anchorage and Eagle River. Those bigger homes are a little tougher out in the valley, but the detached fourplexes, detached townhome style fourplexes are just renting like hotcakes. I have talked to some investors, and I won't get too much into sales prices because I don't sell houses, and so that's why I don't talk about sales prices very much. I appreciate it when real estate agents don't talk about rent prices, because just because you rented something last year doesn't beat my 4 I rented last week. So I try to return the favor and don't talk about sales prices, but the investors I'm talking to are pretty disgruntled at the $800,000 to over $1 million for those detached single-family properties. So, hey, if you held on through the apocalypse of 2015 and 2016 to one of those detached style valley fourplexes, high five, man. Good job. You held on. Here comes the gravy train. So that about wraps up. If there's anything else you would like our insight on here at Real Property Management, we would be happy to do a short video on this. I wanted to keep this kind of short and sweet, just talk about what I see is going on, kind of the big mover shaker issues that I see out in the market. So again, comment below if you'd like to see other stuff from me. Thanks again. Talk to you later.